The mind is like a garden. The mind is like a garden. Look at how all of these plants are growing, and they are existing together. They're growing together. I remember talking to one of my 5th grade students, and I introduced this concept to her of the mind being a garden. And she disagreed with me. She said, my mind is not a garden. And I said, it is. There are so many beautiful things that can grow in your mind. And because she hadn't heard this before, and it just wasn't her thing, she rejected it. If you are introducing a concept to a child and they reject it, don't be discouraged. That's an opportunity for you to continue to share that idea, share that concept, and share the different angles of that concept. When we think about the mind as a garden, it's a wonderful way to understand the attention that needs to go to the mind. Oftentimes, we don't take an interest in the mind until there is disorder in the mind. And as a kids' life coach, that is not a good time to take an interest in the mind for the first time. We need to be taking an interest in the mind from the time that we're holding children. We hold the back of their heads, right? When we're holding babies, we hold the back of their heads. We support their necks. And just learning, I got to be a nerd for a second and share the things I've learned in the research. The visual cortex and the sensory cortex is in the back region of the mind. And we hold those regions in our hands. Ooh, I'm about to run down this path. We hold those regions in our hands as they're developing in these babies. It's amazing. And so the baby is born with the capacity, the innate capacity for touch. And so, touch is, it's all over the brain, right? It's the regions of the brain support touch when they're working together. But specifically the parietal lobe, so the babies are built in to respond to touch to help them develop. And so going back to this concept of the mind being like a garden, how are we to take care of it so that we don't get frazzled when something happens and we don't know what to do? The first thing I recommend is that we teach our kids the value of critical thinking. And when we talk about the value of critical thinking, it doesn't mean just sitting down and saying, read this page or read this thing. And that has a little bit of a punitive tone to it. What I recommend is teaching critical thinking while walking outdoors. So here I am walking, and I pass the garden. There's different plants, and we can just talk about what we see. It doesn't have to be this big thing where we're sitting and we're getting frustrated, and that's not how we do things to where we can enjoy each other. There's a time for sitting and talking and taking notes. But when we're walking on the path, we're processing what we see. And we're connecting our visual cortex, what we process through vision, what we receive through our vision, our sight. We process that and we add language to it. And then we can add our feet to it. So I'm bouncing, okay? And you hear that? Right, and I begin to create a rhythm. And so now I'm adding in another one of the senses, touch. And we're using being outdoors, the light, the sight, and our contact, our physical contact with the environment through our shoes. If we take our shoes off, then, through our feet directly. And we're talking about what we see. Well, how do you think this got here? What do you think this is? And what do you think? And here's the thing. Cell phones now, you can take a picture and it'll tell you what the thing is. In Apple, you can take a photo, get information on the thing. It's so funny. Side note, our family has a dog, which is a Bichon Poodle. And the Bichon, I press the information button and the dogs come up. I'm like, wow, look at our dog, okay? So Much, much fun. But the other beautiful thing that we can do is we can open books. And so we can take pictures and see what the phone says, but we can also take pictures and go back to books, right? And so now we're creating a project out of being outdoors, okay? And it's fun. It's fun. This is a just because. This is a just because the thing is, with the mind being a garden, we've got to just be because, just be because and enjoy. It's that simple. Now, the other part that's really important with critical thinking is it forces us to develop our vocabulary. And when we're developing our vocabulary, we have more words we can access. It's a beautiful thing. So then when we add in the emotional awareness piece, well, what emotions do you feel while you're walking out here? Good. I tell my students, look, I'm scratching my head already. I said, good's not good enough. Give me some words. G-O-O-D, give me a word for each letter. What is it? And they can't do great either, because I want them to build their vocabulary. And as they build their vocabulary, then they can name, they can access, they can express, and it's very powerful. There's so many plants out here. I don't know the name of all these plants, but you know what? I can find out and I can talk to you about them. And when we talk about environmental awareness and developing kids to care about the environment, research shows that when a child can name, or an adolescent can name what something is, they have more care for the existence of that thing. That's pretty fascinating, okay? So we want to promote critical thinking. Critical thinking, rigorous thinking is incomplete without creative thinking. So we want to be creative and think within metaphors as well. Think within similes, within allegories, within stories. And while we're doing that, we're helping the kids to build their lives. We're helping them to build their gardens. And the garden becomes a resource that fuels the life of the child, that fuels and builds the life of the community. Now, I don't know about you, but that is pretty exciting. There are so many young people who struggle with drug use. And I'm doing a lot of reading on this because I'm trying to understand what's happening. What's happening? And when I think about it, I'm like, well, I was a child during the Reagan era. All us millennials were. And we knew there was a campaign going on that said, don't do drugs. Now, here's the thing. We also know, looking back, those of us who are adults now, that the war on drugs was a war on black people's lives, a war on brown people's lives. So there's a downside to the campaign, and that is to be acknowledged. Look at this. This is so lovely. I just want to share this with you. So lovely. There is a downside. There's downsides to everything. If something's up, there's a downside to it. That's life. If there's another side to everything, okay? There's no one-sided thing on earth. There's always another side to it. But, you know what? I think I'm gonna walk. I think I'm gonna walk this way. When we heard don't do drugs and we saw the commercials, this is your brain on drugs. I remember in 5th grade, I was watching, we were in class watching a drug awareness video, and there are these people fighting over a headband. And at 10 years old, I knew they were fighting over drugs. It clicked, because give me that headband. Now, if you saw that video, I want you to say, I saw that video. 5th grade, 1996, okay? Spring semester. And so we were aware. And now many things have happened in the last 30 years to where we have more compassion for people using drugs. And I'm not going to go into that, okay, because there are some facts that support the racial narrative around who gets compassion when they're using drugs, okay? And there were so many people in my family and community who struggled with addiction, and they did not get that compassion or support. With that being said, the narrative around who gets compassion is also affecting the number of people who are using drugs to cope. And so there's an understanding that, oh, this could be used to help you cope, and we understand. And so there's a little bit more of a social acceptability. Now, you may disagree, and that's okay. I think that when people experience injuries, there's a valid reason. People have emotional pain and they look for something to take the edge off. That's a valid reason. Is it the best way to go about the situation? No. But is it a reason for that person? Yes. And what we want to do when we have these conversations, and we're supporting rigorous thinking, metaphorical thinking, creative thinking, critical thinking, what we want to do is we want to build the mind to have a strong defense. That's the ultimate goal. We're building the mind to have a stronger defense. And here's the other thing I want to promote: action. Don't just walk it. Oh, and don't just talk it out. You got to walk it out. You have to walk it out. So if you have a conversation with your child and they want to take action because of a conversation you've had with them, and it was a critical thinking conversation, support that child in getting the actions, in motion. It could be, hey, I really want to go visit this aquarium. I really want to find out more about how to volunteer at this place. I don't recommend protest because, if you want to do that, that's fine, but I don't think protests offer an emotionally balanced view of how we can get things done. Definitely doesn't offer that, depending on who's on the mic. And I've been to enough protests to know this for myself. Talking about taking action, it also gives the mind strength to follow through with the next task because it has a memory of the last task. That's what I want to leave you with. This is such a lovely space. Such a lovely space. When we take action, the mind has a memory of the last time we took action, and then we have a resource for the next time we take action. So we're not all talk. We're not all talk. We're not creative thinkers and critical thinkers that criticize or offer feedback from our chairs. We go out and do something, and going out to do something, it has to be balanced with staying in and taking care of ourselves while we're doing something as well. And rest, doing nothing, is doing something. I hope this is helpful for you when we think about ways that we can support critical thinking in motion. The bottom line is get outdoors, talk about what you see, build vocabulary, identify places where you can take action given that conversation, because conversations activate, and then we want to take action with the activation, okay? And to the point of, why are so many people, what's happening? Why are so many people overdosing? I don't know every case. I read them as I see them. And so many people don't feel like they can make it. So many people don't feel like they can make it. And I think part of that is that their minds have not been built up to have a strong defense when they experience natural difficulties in life, heartbreaks, disappointments. And I'm going to talk about in the next video, and moving forward, we'll do a few videos on this. How do we build the defenses of the mind? Not to where we're hostile, but we can take a painful moment and transform it into a moment of clarity, understanding, peace. and action, appropriate action. And kids can do this. We want them to do this so that they don't feel like they can't make it through life and they're looking for something to take the edge off. I bless you. I want the best for you. Let me know in the comments where you would take your child to have a wonderful conversation outdoors, and you're promoting critical thinking.